big addiction people are dealing with, pornography and all these other addictions.
NoFap changed my life. Now, if you don't know what NoFap is, it's basically this movement that was created where people stop playing with themselves and they stop watching pornography. I know, crazy, right? Like, why would anyone want to stop doing these things? But I came across this a few years back, and it's because I realized that I had a problem. I realized that, hey, maybe what I'm doing isn't the best thing.
It's crazy.
NoFap. So for people that have never heard of this, NoFap. This is something new also to me. Is it NoFap?
NoFap.
Yeah. So for the next generation, older generation, you know, many people are not keen to these new terms. Like, what was this message that you were getting out there?
Yeah. So first off, let me just say the shirt that I had on in the video, I think, was by far the most comfortable shirt that I've ever had in my life. SubhanAllah. But NoFap, to get on topic here, NoFap. NoFap is basically where you stop masturbating, you stop watching pornography. And for this generation, or at least for the people who are outside of religion, that's a big thing for them. You know, like, it's free. You can go on a computer, your phone, and you have access to unlimited things that will, quote unquote, fulfill your desire. Right, but that's not the best thing in this world. And the whole NoFap movement, it's basically to eliminate these things so that your body can kind of go back to its normal state. You see, because if someone watches pornography, what ends up happening is that it's releasing an excessive amount of dopamine into your system. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, kind of like acetylcholine, serotonin, things along that line. All right, there are more for sure. I'm just not recalling them right now. But when you watch pornography, it's releasing this excessive amount of dopamine, and it's excessive because you would never have this in nature. It's not natural for you to be able to be with, let's say, 40, 50, 60 different sexual partners within, like, what, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? It's not possible. Like, it's not something that Allah made for us. Allah didn't create our bodies this way, right? So what ends up happening is that you have this excessive amount of dopamine, and then it basically desensitizes your body to where you become less sensitive to real life. So let's say you walk outside, and let's say there's a butterfly that flies across. Like, if you were sensitive, you would look at that butterfly and there would be an impact because you'd be present, you would experience that fully. But when you are desensitized, it's like that butterfly flies across and there's this lag time. There's this period where it's like you didn't really experience it. You're kind of running like 2 to 5 seconds behind the time frame that you should be, you know. So to keep it more simple, if you're desensitized, you're not going to notice a butterfly. If you're sensitized, you go outside and you see that butterfly and you say, Subhanallah. And that's NoFap. That's all it's doing, is just resensitizing your body.
And were you Muslim at the time when you made this?
Nah, I was not Muslim.
Okay, so you're actually pushing this positive message even before Islam.
Yeah.
So this is a movement of not yet Muslims, non-Muslims who started this.
It's non-Muslims for sure. And if you get like deep down to the bone, NoFap is actually a business, unfortunately.
Became a business?
Yeah, but still, like, it's still helping people. So
yeah.
So it is what it is in that sense. But NoFap is meant to help people break free from destructive habits and addictions, but little do they know that when they break free from these things, they actually get closer to the creator. They get more spiritual. Everyone who's been on NoFap will attest to the same thing.
This is deep. So what do you think from your experience dealing and talking with this? I had a guest on, Imam John. He makes the connection. He's lectured, helped a lot of the youth. people who are saying, supposedly coming out and saying, look, you know, they're having doubts about Islam. They're having a faith iman crisis. He connects this crisis, much of it, a great majority of it, to pornography addiction. Because now you made the statement now that you end up getting closer to your creator when you start disconnecting here. Now reverse that, right? You keep doing it. What's the opposite going to happen? You're going to get more distant.
It takes you
Right.
away.
So we did a program here, and we actually, you have, I think, is one of the serial killers on there. They were talking about FBI and whatnot. They were talking about, I forgot what the person's name
Bundy,
was.
Ted
Was
Bundy.
it one of them? Yeah. Was it Bundy? And he talks about how, you know, this violent form of pornography, how this actually aided, you know, them, you know, with their thinking to go ahead and commit a lot of these crimes. What are your thoughts on that?
It's the truth. It's the truth. Because when you watch these things, it's programming you subconsciously. Like I've talked to many people who they say that, you know, what they learned in pornography when they're having sex with their woman, it's not the same. And I'm like, well, of course it's not the same. Like, what did you expect? Like, number one, pornography is fake. They are literally acting, and they're recording there are people behind camera that are recording this. And then on top of that, like, everything is done excessively to appeal to people, because what ends up happening is people, when they start watching pornography or they start taking drugs, they have this thing known as the Coolidge effect, meaning that you need more of the said thing in order to experience the same feeling you felt in the beginning. So if someone drinks alcohol, they're going to need more alcohol. They develop a tolerance, right? It's a simple terminology, a tolerance. Someone smokes weed the first time, there will never be another time like the first time. And every time that they smoke weed after that, they're going to try to emulate and have that same experience as the first time, but they will never experience that again, right? So that's the Coolidge effect. Now with pornography, it's the same thing. You watch pornography, the more someone watches pornography, the nastier the stuff they get into, until they're doing something that's completely against what they are. Like they could be a straight heterosexual male, and he could be so far gone into pornography that he's now watching homosexual pornography. But he's not gay himself. But he's watching this because he's literally desensitized himself so much that now he needs that in order for him to get aroused and feel anything. So just think, like, if that's happening with that, like, think about the other stuff that's occurring.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it made sense to me what he was saying. This Imam John, what he was saying was that because of this is leading to a crisis of faith, of iman, with a lot of people who are in this addiction. So what do you like to tell people who are going through this addiction right now? They're tuning in. Where do you like to start? How do you like to help people? Because this is one of the things you do, right? You help people dealing with these different addictions. So having gone through a lot of these things, what would you tell the person? Like where to start, how to get help?
Well, are we referring to someone who is religious, or are we referring to someone who is secular?
Both.
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 All right. So, well, it's going to look different for each one, because obviously each one has different beliefs and, you know, different desires and stuff like that. But for the non-secular person, I always tell them, like, what does the best version of yourself look like? Like, I'm talking about, like, when you watch a movie and you see like that character that's like the top character, where you're just like, dang, like that's pretty dope. You know, like he's masculine, he's strong, he's confident, he's stoic, all this stuff that you might attribute to this character. Now look at yourself. Right? Look at yourself as the main character in your own life, in your own movie. Now, what would this character be doing? Would he be watching pornography all the time? Would he be masturbating all the time? The answer is probably not. And that's like that makes a big shift in people who are secular. Now, for people who are religious, it's really like it's all about understanding like what they're doing. You know, like, number one, do you understand that time is running out? Number two, do you understand that we're not guaranteed the next hour? We're not guaranteed the next minutes. Nothing is guaranteed. The only thing that's guaranteed is that we're going to die and we're going to be gathered right in front of our Creator, the day of judgment. All right? That's guaranteed. Now, if you are religious, you understand these two things, and then you see what you're doing. Well, now it's a matter of like kind of breaking it down. Okay, why am I going in this path? Why am I doing these things? And a big one could be, oh, well, I don't have a spouse. I'm not married, you know, and I'll catch on to I'll talk on the ones where if they're married, what would they do? But 9 times out of 10, the people who are doing this, they're not going to be married, right? Mm-hmm. So they're trying to fulfill their sexual urges without actually going out here and having sex with a woman, without performing zina outside of marriage, you know? But that, I don't know which one's worse, man. I don't know which one's worse, to watch pornography or to actually go out there and perform zina. Now, both of them are terrible, and Allah has already said this, but it's like in reality, like when you look at like what's happening deep down on a, I guess the neurotransmitter level and all that stuff, like even on the spiritual level, like which one is actually worse? Which one is worse here? And they think that watching pornography is worse when like it's not any better. It's not any better.
Yeah, some people that's how Shaitan plays that game. He tries to you try to, you know, make justifications, and now you even have it's instead of the VHS tapes, right? You have access all over, but now you can dial up. People end up dialing up, and you got someone live.
Oh yeah, the live shows and all that.
Right.
It's getting disgusting, and it's getting to the point where they're having 3D, the virtual reality stuff. Once it gets like deeper into that, like trust that people are really going to be in a rough point. But getting back to what we were saying about like the guy, if the guy realizes that he's doing it because he's not married, well, then the next question is like, okay, well, what's preventing him from being married? And then starting to do the work necessary in order to become married, so that way you can get over the addiction. Because the thing is with addictions is if we take the word addiction out, it's actually just a pattern of behavior. Now, of course, each pattern of behavior will either lead you to rewards or will lead you to punishment. But if you see it for what it is, then you understand a pattern of behavior can only be changed if you replace it with something else. And a lot of times people replace it with something worse. You know, it's like you don't want to change one poison for another poison. So in this sense, it's like you want to change that pattern of behavior with different patterns of behavior, which those patterns of behavior could be self-improvement, you know, maybe developing yourself in your faith, you know, in your deen, and developing yourself financially so you can support a wife. Because once you do those two, you're completing, or first part, the self-improvement, you're completing your 50% of your deen. And then once you have the financial aspect done and you get married, now you've completed the other 50% of your deen. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's very simple. It's just a matter of like asking these questions and like going deeper down into your psychology and figuring out how you're working and how's everything going on here.
It's so amazing, refreshing to see someone who went through the journey like you have, and now where you're at today, you know, giving this advice, you know, with the Islamic touch in it. It's just so beautiful to see. So what was that? Because it's no secret now